Hello and welcome to this presentation, which explains how to prepare for academic promotion, in particular to associate professor and full professor. It's one of a series of 7 presentations which we created for a workshop on promotion at Middlesex University London as part of our staff development program. The other 6 presentations were by successful applicants and are available to Middlesex staff only on our professional development gateway. My own presentation, though, is quite generic, and therefore I thought it might also be useful to academics in other universities preparing for promotion. Remember, though, always consult your own university's guidelines, as the process, the criteria, and the expectations for promotion can differ, not just by country, but also by university. Now, in academia, promotion through the ranks can be a very slow, frustrating, and opaque process. There are also very few things in academic life that generate such strong emotions as promotion applications. And that's really not surprising, because academic salaries are relatively low when compared to other professions requiring the same length of training and working hours. And rejection is a constant feature of our academic lives. Therefore, promotion is often one of the few big positive reinforcements that we get in our careers. So, if promotion applications are unsuccessful, academics often feel very deeply about this. For some, it can be like getting a dozen rejections for journal submissions and grant applications in one go. Moreover, as our work is typically such an important part of our personal identity as well, rejection of an internal promotion application can feel like a rejection from someone very close to you, and it's hurting both your feelings and your pride. And I can fully understand this. In the early part of my own career, I felt I had to move institutions to get my external promotion to senior lecturer. My own internal promotion applications to both associate professor and full professor were both rejected in the first round. I've also been part of dozens of recruitment and internal promotion panels, as well as external promotion panels, and I've seen opinions clashing, games being played, and emotions running very high. So in this presentation, I would like to share some of the lessons that I have learned and hopefully leave you better prepared to apply for promotion yourself. Remember though, everyone is unique, so every application is unique. The new promotion guidelines at Middlesex University recognize this, and they provide you with considerable flexibility to craft an application that is based on your academic identity, your norms and values, your career story, and your strengths and weaknesses. In fact, when choosing a design for this presentation, it struck me that this title slide was very appropriate. There are as many different applications as there are staff, and this is clearly reflected in the flowers in this slide. I can guarantee you though that none of them will be as straight as the left-hand one. Getting promoted is a process of cumulative achievements. However, I have 4 general lessons that might be applicable for all promotion applications. So that's what the rest of the presentation will be about, and I will structure them by seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. The first lesson, spring. Start early. In fact, I would argue that your preparation for promotion starts the very day that you start your academic career. In your application, you will need to evidence your performance in research, in teaching, in external engagement, in leadership, and in collegiality, and in any other aspects that your university requires. Collecting this evidence throughout your career makes it much easier to write up your application. In my book on writing effective emotion applications, I've suggested creating a good stuff folder and put it on the desktop of your computer. That doesn't have to be complicated. Just create a Word document or a folder for your promotion application today, and then just drop every tiny bit of good news and achievement in it. Are you getting a nice email from a student or a colleague? Just take a screenshot and drop it in there. Did you get nominated for an award? Put it in there, even if you weren't selected in the end. So you were excited by a famous academic in the field? Again, take a screenshot and drop it in there. Someone said something really nice about one of your journal articles? Again, just drop it in there. Don't worry about nice formatting or systematic reporting. Your first aim is simply to gather material in the quickest way possible. If you have a half an hour to spare occasionally in between meetings or when your brain is fried, you can go through your file and just clean it up a bit. Some achievements might go directly to your CV. Others could be maybe collated under a specific heading, maybe evidence of research or teaching impact or evidence of your academic reputation. But don't spend too much time on this. I think your good stuff file will serve you well because it will serve at least 3 purposes. It will give you something to start for your first promotion application, the first draft of your promotion application. There is nothing worse than having just a blank sheet of paper and a daunting list of promotion criteria. Secondly, though, it will ensure that you don't forget the many small things that in themselves are maybe not that consequential, but combined can make a very strong case. All of us think that we will remember things in the future when the time comes, but we rarely do. Third, and I think that's maybe even more important, it makes you feel good about yourself. And that's for 2 reasons. First, you know that you work on your promotion a little bit every day, week or month. And second, you document your achievements. You can look back on them on dark days when you're not really feeling that well. It's always great to look through that stuff file to cheer yourself up. Then, when you get to the year in which you're going to apply for promotion, read all the guidelines and support materials before you start drafting your application. As one of my colleagues said in his presentation, read them again and again and again until you can't bear to look at them anymore. You really need to be very familiar with them. Then, a few months before the deadline, draft the first application. This gives you plenty of time to share it with your mentor for early feedback, but it also gives you time to collect additional evidence and simply to step back, to reflect, to look at it with fresh eyes, and then to improve and to polish. In fact, we all know how to do this with journal articles. So why not do this for one of the most important documents you will ever write for your academic career? Now, you can even start drafting an application a few years before you're planning to apply. This, in fact, allows you to identify any gaps in your records and means you can start working proactively on improving your record in these areas. Now, remember that writing your career narrative is also an important way to reflect on what you want to be as an academic. I know that sometimes we can feel that we have very little power in our careers, but there is a lot we can do in crafting our own jobs. We are independent professionals, so see reflection on your career narrative for your promotion as part of your continued personal and professional development. What have you done so far in your own career, and where do you want to go in the future? But remember most of all that writing up a good case for promotion does take time. It took me more than a month full time to put my first one for associate professor together. although partly that was because in most Australian universities the case runs to 20 pages. And I won't lie, I have cursed all the time I've had to spend on promotion applications. I was promoted internally to associate professor and full professor, as I said before. I was rejected the first time around for both, so I've had to spend several months of my research time on this. However, ultimately, I'm grateful that I was forced to put in this work. It really made me think about my academic career and where I wanted to go. It led directly to a major change in how I represented my research programs and how I argued my contribution to the discipline. It also made me much more aware of the metrics that I use to evaluate academic performance. And this came in very handy later in my role as Associate Dean Research at the University of Melbourne, and then in my role as research mentor and staff development at Middlesex University. So, however difficult it might seem, try to see your work on your promotion application not just as a chore to comply with silly rules or to battle with organizational politics. Instead, try and see it as an investment in yourself to help you really articulate what it is you're proud of and how you would like to spend the next 5, 10, or 15 years of your academic career. And finally, don't forget that you can actually reuse your carefully crafted promotion statements in lots of other settings too. You can use them for funding applications to evidence your record, applications for academic awards or fellowships, your yearly performance appraisals, applying for external promotion, your social media profiles, and even blog posts. The second tip for summer is to focus on the why and the how, not on the what. It's especially important for Middlesex University, where the emphasis is very strongly on your career narrative. Other universities might still have an approach that is focused primarily on cold hard metrics, but even there, this tip might be useful to frame your application. Remember that your application is an argued and coherent case, not a set of puzzle pieces that you simply throw at the promotion panel, asking them to somehow put the puzzle together. When writing a case for promotion, many academics have the natural tendency to just repeat their CV in a narrative format, turning the bullet points into sentences. This is what I call the what. It's simply a description of your duties, a description of your roles, a description of your achievements. But it's only the raw material. They are the puzzle pieces. But you are the one who needs to put these puzzle pieces together and link them into an overall career story. The promotion panel can only see the full picture appearing when all of the puzzle pieces are in place. And remember, it's not their job to put the pieces together. Even if they are prepared to do this, and that's unlikely, they might use them to create a career narrative that doesn't really reflect who you are and really doesn't show the best of you. It's your promotion, so you need to put the puzzle together. Now, especially when applying for promotion to associate professor or full professor, universities will want to know what you profess. In other words, they want a coherent statement of what you see as the core of your academic identity. And even if your university's guidelines don't formally require this, drawing on your academic identity can turn your application from a fairly sterile list of achievements into a compelling career narrative. It demonstrates that you are an individual who cares about their profession, rather than a cardboard cutout rattling off just a list of tick boxes. Remember that ideally, your promotion panel should get a feel for your academic identity, for the passion you have for your profession. They don't want a cardboard cutout academic. slopping into a standard template. It might not always feel like that, but they're really not looking for a person that just ticks the boxes. They want to know who you are, what makes you tick, what do you stand for. When reading your application, their hearts should swell with pride for having such a great colleague. They shouldn't be falling asleep, wrestling through a tedious records of roles, or getting annoyed by simply baseless bragging without evidence. So really take care of framing your application in the why. Now, after taking care of the why, what drives you as an academic, focus on the how. How have you lived these values that are part of your academic identity? How have you achieved the goals you set yourself? Narrate your journey, the choices you've made along the way, the obstacles you have overcome maybe. But remember to provide the evidence too. As my colleague Tim Freeman said in his presentation, it is a narrative, it is a story, but it's not fiction. So do provide the evidence. If you're struggling with this, in my book on promotion applications, I give you plenty of examples on how you can do this for research, for teaching, for leadership, and other aspects of the academic career. The third recommendation for autumn says focus on impact. How has what you have done helped stakeholders? It asks the question, so what? And it's very much related to the summer recommendation that said focus on the why and the how instead of the what. An effective promotion application is more than a simple listing of your publications, the courses you have taught, and the leadership and service roles that you have gladly or not so gladly fulfilled. That's the stuff of your CV. To apply for promotion, you'll need a comprehensive CV, absolutely, but a CV can only tell your promotion panel so much. Yeah, you might have top journal publication. But what if these articles were methodologically sound but trivial in terms of their novelty and impact? What if nobody ever read or cited any of these articles? What if these top publications were achieved only once or twice and maybe early in your career with the help of your PhD supervisors and were never repeated? The panel doesn't know. Yes, you may have taught many courses and many students and marked many assignments. But what if you sent students running for cover to other electives? What if you recycled teaching materials year after year? What if your lectures induced death by PowerPoint? Maybe you cared mostly about teaching and just showing off your own knowledge and not enough about facilitating student learning. A CV can't tell a panel this. Then you may have been a department head, a very important indication of leadership. But what if half of the staff left during your tenure? You may have been maybe the department's seminar coordinator. But what if most of these seminars started late, were chaotic, and attendance to these seminars dropped during your tenure? Or you may have been a member of many committees. But what if all you did was sit through these committees in silence? The promotion panel cannot tell any of this from your CV. So a promotion panel cannot discount these what ifs if they only have access to your CV and a very dry summary of your duties and publications. So to argue your case, you need to show your positive impact on stakeholders, providing concrete evidence. Remember, everyone can claim that they do high quality research, are inspirational teachers, and are transformational as leaders. So your application needs to focus on how what you have done has actually helped these stakeholders. Now, it's up to you to define who these stakeholders are. They could be other academics, they could be practitioners, they could be policymakers, they could be students, they could be your colleagues, they could be your mentees. But your focus really needs to be about how your work has impacted on others, not just on how good you think you are and why you think you are owed a promotion. Then, as a second step, remember that promotion is a future-oriented decision. It's not a past-oriented one. You're not promoted as a reward for being a loyal servant. Promotions typically reflect the potential of what you can do in the future. They're not a reward for what you have done in the past. Now, absolutely, you should use your past achievements to evidence why you should be promoted. But few universities will promote you unless they feel that these past achievements are somehow indicators of even bigger future achievements. What you really want to convey to your employer and the promotion panel is that promotion would benefit both you and the institution, because it would allow you to spread your wings and to fly even higher. And this is particularly important for promotion to associate professor and full professor. Most universities really do not promote someone to associate professor if they do not think they have the ability to become a full professor in due time. And most universities will not promote someone to full professor if they think this will lead you to rest on your laurels and not contribute to the university anymore. If to promote you to full professor, universities might fear that you become research inactive. Many professors become more or not less research active after promotion. They are intrinsically interested in research and they are keen to use their new position to do more. But there are also professors who gradually become less and less research active. Their research motivation might well have been a bit more extrinsic and driven at least partly by their career goals. As the university doesn't really know which category you will be in, they will really be looking for signals of your likely future research performance. So you better make sure that these signals are included in your application. The second worry that your university might have if they promote you to full professor is that you start focusing purely on your own, sometimes very niche research interests. And as a result, that you might be less likely to actively engage in teaching or leadership. Remember that many universities rely on professors to do the bulk of academic leadership. So they're looking for signals that you will be likely to take on these roles and be effective in them, whether they are formal roles, such as head of department or associate dean or even dean, or informal through maybe research mentoring or service to the profession. So in sum, I would say make it very, very clear how promotion will be the start of a more exciting journey in the future. The fourth and final recommendation is for winter. And it says, write for the reader. Make things explicit. Remember, the promotion panel are not mind readers. And we already know perfectly how this works for journal submissions. When you are submitting, say, to a specialist journal in your own narrowly defined field, you can assume a certain level of familiarity with the field's main authors, the theories, and the dominant research methods. But if you're trying your luck in a more generalist journal that is maybe more highly ranked, you will need to do a lot more explaining and justification in all of these areas, because there is not this level of shared understanding that there is in your narrowly defined subdiscipline. Are you writing for a journal in another discipline altogether? Well, then you might need to do a lot of explaining to get your contribution recognized. The same is true, absolutely true for promotion applications. Write for the reader. But to do that, you first need to know who the reader is. So find out who will be deciding on your promotion application. Is it a departmental panel? Is it a panel at the level of the school or faculty? Or is it even a university level panel? Now, applications for associate and full professor are typically evaluated at a higher organizational level than applications for promotion to lecturer or senior lecturer. In smaller universities, associate professorship applications and definitely professorship applications might be decided at the university level, and all disciplines might be considered at the same time. Bigger universities might have separate panels, but only for broad disciplinary areas such as the social sciences, not narrow disciplinary areas such as business, or even narrower management or marketing or finance. So anything above the departmental level requires much more contextualization, both qualitatively and quantitatively. This is especially true for research, which varies dramatically between disciplines. So step outside your narrow disciplinary area. Beyond maybe science and nature, there are very, very, very few journals that are recognized across disciplines. So highlighting your standard in the field through referring to journals can only be done if you explain why these journals are the most prestigious journals in your field. Trying to highlight your standing in your field through referring to well-known collaborators, well, that will only work if people know these people. A famous academic in marketing might be a complete unknown, even in the related discipline of management. So you need to do quite a bit of explaining. That's true for quantity as well. Are you maybe a business school academic who is boasting about publishing 2 articles a year? Well, you might actually be seen as a bit of a slacker in the life sciences. Some academics might publish multiple articles a month. Are you proudly featuring your 20 or 30K grants in an application in business and management? Well, academics in the natural sciences might wonder why you're even mentioning it. They're counting more in millions rather than in thousands. So build in some field benchmarks in your application and contextualize your achievements. I show you plenty of examples of how to do this in my book on writing effective promotion applications. Now, maybe you'll remember the puzzle pieces from the summer recommendation. Don't just present a collection of puzzle pieces. Don't just present a collection of evidence. Help the reader draw a conclusion. Don't just give the reader the evidence, tell the reader what this is evidence of. You cannot rely on the reader to draw the conclusion. If they do, they might very well draw a very different conclusion from the one you intended. So let's take a very simple example that hopefully will resonate with all of you. In your application, you might include a very long list of modules that you have taught in a very wide range of disciplinary areas. Now, you might proudly present this and see this as evidence of how much you have taught and how versatile you are. But your panel might see this quite differently, and they might see this as an indication that you do not have clear research expertise in a particular area, and you are just a bit of what is the word, a jack of all trades and a master of none. And this might feel really unfair if you haven't even had the chance to teach in your research area, which in fact happened to me. Much of my own research is in international human resource management. And I have a fairly successful textbook in international human resource management, which is in its 6th edition, but I've never taught international HRM in my life. I was taught to teach very generic international business courses or strategy courses, and neither are areas that I'm particularly passionate about. So if this happens to you, you can turn this around and present the large number of different modules that you have taught on as an advantage. You can say it positions you well to provide students with a holistic picture. It positions you well to do interdisciplinary research. You can also say, well, you've made a substantial contribution to course development because you've taught on so many different courses. You can even present it as evidence of collegiality, in that you've been willing to carry the burden of frequently taking on new teaching assignments. However, you need to bring that evidence to life and tell the panel what this is evidence of. Whatever you do, though, make it a positive story. As one of my other new colleagues who applied successfully for promotion said in his presentation, nobody likes a moaner. Nobody likes someone who is passive-aggressive. Your promotion application is not the place to complain about how badly you think you've been treated in the past. And also remember, the promotion panel are not reading these applications for fun. Just like with funding applications, these panels have to read many applications over a very short period. And they're typically doing this on top of their normal jobs. So make sure your key contributions are abundantly clear and they leap off the page. Now, the final thing I think you should do is to get a friendly reader to read your application before you submit. Hopefully you've had a mentor who's helped you during the entire process, but before you submit, get someone else to look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. You would do this if you submitted an article to a journal, wouldn't you? We often get a friendly reviewer before we submit an article to a journal. So why not do this for a promotion application? If you do this, though, be prepared to return a favor. When I first applied for promotion to associate professor, I asked half a dozen colleagues to look at my application, and they all said yes. Now, was that because they were such nice people? Well, maybe they were, they might well have been, but more likely it was because I had helped them in the past. So be prepared to return the favor. Now, finally, after spring, summer, autumn, and winter, where I've recommended you to start early, focus on the why and how, focus on impact and your stakeholders, and writing for the reader, all that remains is to wish you all the very best of luck with your own promotion application. There are quite a few resources available to help you. Most of these are for Middlesex academics only and have been uploaded in the Academic Promotions folder on the Professional Development Gateway. However, there's also my book, Writing Effective Promotion Applications, the Green Book, and this is available to everyone in paperback, Kindle, and hardcover. Just go to my website and you'll find it. It elaborates on the key messages that I discussed today and provides you with an abundance of tips on how to write the most effective application. Please do remember, though, that there are always things that are beyond our control. When submitting to journals, we know this. We know that the success might be dependent on who the acting editor is. We also know that we are subject to what we call the roll of the dice in terms of the academics that accept the invitation to review your article. Well, the same is true for promotion applications and promotion panels. Those in positions of power and authority are not the same from one year to another. The composition of the panel might differ dramatically between one year and the other. You cannot control what other applications are submitted at the same time, and competition might be stronger in specific years or for specific positions than for others. Capacity might also be larger in some universities than in others, just like it is with some journals. Some universities might simply promote everyone who meets the criteria, just like some journals might have expanded dramatically the number of articles they publish to match increasing submissions. Other universities might only have a fixed number of places every year, just like some journals have stuck to publishing only a very small, increasingly small percentage of the articles they receive. So although I very, very much hope you will be successful, if you're not, realize that you're not the only one. It is not fully in your control. Many, many academics have been rejected at least once before they were successful. Personally, I told you I moved institutions to be promoted to senior lecturer, and I was rejected in my first attempt to both associate and full professor. So please treat an unsuccessful promotion application as a revise and resubmit, not a rejection. You are rejected this year. You're not rejected as an academic. In dealing with a promotion rejection, try to keep your emotions at bay. Of course, that's not easy. And of course, you'll have a few days cursing the panel's ignorance and not reading your application properly, soothing your emotions with wine or chocolate. But please do not try to not let it impact you too much. And most of all, don't let it impact on your self-esteem. I know rejections always hurt, but remember, this isn't personal. They've rejected your application. They haven't rejected you. Just address the feedback and try again. Also, I would say don't withdraw into anger or cynicism about supposed injustice. I certainly feel I suffered from bias and university politics at some stages of my career. And I'll be honest, it's kept me awake at night more than once, and life can be very unfair. But if you focus on this too much, it only makes the effect of it worse. Again, spend a few weeks sorry for yourself if you want to. Take long walks, watch your favorite television series on repeat. Again, eating lots of chocolate and drinking lots of wine. But after that, pick yourself up and just try again. As with any aspect of academia, persistence and resilience is more important than anything else. So again, good luck. And if you have been successful, I would love to hear from you.